The Chargers beat the Raiders and moved to 2-2 on the season. And now that I'm finally back in LA, let's go over the good and the bad from this game. And while I pull up this list, make sure to like, subscribe if you do enjoy the content, and bolt the fuck up because I'm back and now we're on a winning streak. Now, first things first, Derius Davis is a legit player, man. He is shifty, he has great vision while running, and the Chargers need to implement him into this offense even more, especially without Austin Ekeler in the field, because he is a weapon and he can be used in the backfield, in the slot, and out wide, while also having that return ability, man. He brings so much value to this team. He had an awesome 51-yard run on that first drive, and he stepped up in this game without Mike Williams and without Austin Ekeler, which is a great sign for his future. I want to see him used in the backfield and in the slot a lot more, especially if Austin Ekeler is going to miss even more time right now. Now, Justin Herbert, man, he tore it up. He was only 13 of 24 for 167 yards, but he was progressing through his reads really well, and oh my God, his running ability. Bro, that is what shined the most in this game. Last year, people must have forgot how athletic Justin Herbert is, but this year and in this game specifically, he has reminded people that he is a dual threat quarterback. In this game, honestly, kind of reminded me of the Rose Bowl game he had in Oregon his senior season, because he didn't throw for a ton of yardage, but his running ability is what changed the game and got the team the win. Also, shout out to his toughness, man. Herb is a dog, and he played through the last part of the game with a fractured finger on his left hand. It was this finger right here, the ring finger, and he still threw that 51-yard bomb to Josh Palmer along the sideline to secure the win, bro. That made me bolt up so hard. That is big dog energy, and people need to stop disrespecting Justin Herbert, because if you look at the box score, you would never know how great he actually was in this game. Like, bro, that one play in the second quarter where Herbert stepped up to avoid Maxx Crosby, then literally ran straight into Divine Diablo and then scrambled out to his right side, threw the ball while being hit by Tyree Wilson to Quentin Johnston for an 18-yard gain. That is as good of a QB play as you will ever see, and that was Patrick Mahomes-like. Also, shout out to Quentin Johnston for catching that one, because it was a tough catch, but he got under it, and I bet all of those Chiefs wide receivers nowadays, they would probably not be making catches like that. And then there was another play in the second quarter where Herbert does a play action pass, rolls out to his right side, Maxx Crosby coming right in his face, right? He jukes the fuck out of him and then makes him touch the turf, runs for 3 yards, draws a penalty for 15 yards because Jerry Tillery decided, hey, you know what? I want to make a positive impact on the Chargers for once in my life, and oh my gosh, for this one play, he actually did. Way to go. Now for the bad on offense. I think they should have used Derius Davis more. I kind of already touched on that a little bit. He only played 12 snaps, but he was the highest graded player on offense by PFF at 81.5. 6 snaps from the backfield, 4 from the slot, 2 out wide. So I like how they're utilizing him all over the field on this offense. I just want to see those snap counts like double, especially if Austin Ekeler remains out, and we are already down Mike Williams, so Quentin Johnston is going to have a higher usage rate as well. And that's another thing too, Quentin Johnston, he only had 1 catch in this game. We got to target him a little more, I think. And now the offensive line, bro, as a unit, they just were not playing too well like all game. I actually thought that Will Clapp was solid in the lineup with Corey Linsley out, but man, they struggled against Maxx Crosby, regardless of whether he was matched up on Rashawn Slater or Trey Pipkins. Maxx Crosby, man, he had an elite PFF grade and an elite pass rushing grade, which you got to expect the other team's great players to be great, but I would have liked to see him contained a bit more from the Chargers and chipped on his rushes a little more. Just use more resources, excuse me, that you have to eliminate him from the game. You know what I'm saying? And then as best as possible, you got to roll away from him, pull a tight end to that side, get a chip block on him, something like that. They were just kind of leaving him one-on-one, and it looked like they were content to just leave him against those tackles for a lot of the game, and it led to him having 8 pressures and 2 sacks, but also a fat L because the Chargers still won anyway, so who am I to argue against the game plan? And then the running game. Like, the running game was so good throughout the season, but it wasn't great today. Joshua Kelly had that great run in the first half where he made a couple Raiders miss and then ran 22 yards for the first. But outside of the 51-yard run by Derius Davis on that first drive of the game, the Chargers as a team only ran for 104 yards on 36 carries. And then you take out Justin Herbert's runs, which were all improvised by him, then you only have 24 carries for 77 yards. That is mostly on the offensive line, in my opinion, because they weren't creating a ton of space for these guys, and the running backs were not getting a lot of room to work with. But still, it's just not a good look for this offense that only had 167 yards passing in this game. You only have, really, with your running backs, you only ran for 77 yards. The good news is, though, whenever you have a quarterback like Justin Herbert, you always have a chance to win in a football game. And also, the Raiders were playing pretty good defense, man. Trevon Moehrig, Luke Masterson, Maxx Crosby, all of those guys, listen, they were just good. And it's a good sign that the Chargers actually won a messy game on offense where they struggled and literally did not score at all in the second half. They pulled it out in the end. They didn't let it slip away. Now let's go to the defense. First man up, Tuipulotu, bro. He continues to be the second best edge player on this team. And honestly, he may be the second best player on this defense to start the season. In a game without Joey Bosa, Derwin James, Alohi Gilman, and Deane Leonard, they're all out. This defense could have definitely struggled, but Tuli has been consistently impressive ever since he was drafted, man. He only had one pressure in this game, but he played really well in run defense, and also he was used on stunt moves to free up KHALIL Mack, specifically on that first sack that KHALIL Mack had. And speaking of KHALIL Mack, that man was dominant. He was as dominant as an edge player could possibly be. He had 6 sacks in this game, which puts him at the top of the sack leaders for this season in only one game, bro. He also had an elite PFF grade of 92.3. He had 7 run stops. Are you kidding me? Listen, 6 sacks, 7 run stops, and he got the ball twice. So that's 2 ball sacks, 7 run stops, and 6 sacks. What? And listen, KHALIL Mack was another one of those guys. He's a big name, but he wasn't getting a lot of production. So he was getting a lot of disrespect because he hasn't put up those numbers yet. And people were getting angry saying he is washed. Well, there you go. Right there, his best performance of his career against the team that drafted him, and he was 1 sack away from the NFL record in a single game. My man is a straight up beast, proving people wrong. It was awesome to see. Chris Rumph also had a great game, specifically as a pass rusher. The Chargers were dominating this Raiders offensive line all game, man. Aiden O'Connell is going to have nightmares from his first NFL start. He's going to be seeing KHALIL Mack in his sleep, and he's going to wake up in a cold sweat. Also, Asante Samuel Jr., he was probably the best coverage defender in this game for the Chargers, even though he allowed 5 catches for 39 yards. And that might not sound great because it's really not that great, but on 8 targets, he played much better than Michael Davis, who allowed 7 catches for 64 yards, and Jasir Taylor, who allowed 6 catches for 73 yards. Asante also missed a tackle coming down on Josh Jacobs in a one-on-one, but he had the game-winning interception where he read the quarterback's eyes about as well as you possibly could and then jumped that out route and made that pick. And then Brandon Staley told him to go down. I don't care what anyone says. It looks specifically like Brandon Staley said, down, go down. Let the man run. Asante could have taken that thing back. Regardless of that whole Brandon Staley thing on the sideline, Asante Samuel Jr., in my opinion, the best cornerback in the game for the Chargers. Now let's get to the negatives. Chargers defense, just in general, man, they need to stop missing tackles and not allow plays like that 3rd and 18 in the third quarter. Oh my God, that gave me Hey Diddle Diddle Ray Rice up the middle vibes on 4th and 29 from a couple years ago. That was awful. But listen, I understand we had our backup safeties out there and JC Jackson isn't out there. So like technically we had 3 backups out there, but tackling has been an issue for a while, and that means it's a team culture thing. 10 missed tackles in this game, and without those missed tackles, it would have ended a lot of drives for the Raiders, and this game would not have been as close as it was. And then also special teams. Where did that come from? Not really a great performance from them. They were not very good because they allowed a big return by DeAndre Carter that Cameron Dicker, the kicker, got a tackle on. Thank goodness for him, because that may have been a touchdown. They also almost got a punt blocked in the first half, and then J.K. Scott didn't punt the ball well in this game, really, like, at all. He had that one punt that you can argue, like, okay, yeah, he's backed up way in the back of the end zone. He can't really punt it too well. But still, every single punt, just, it could have been better. And listen, I'm glad that we made all of our kicks and that our kicker, Mr. Dicker, is making tackles now too. That man is good, but I'm just calling it how I see it, okay? They did not punt the ball well, and 2 almost big mistakes on special teams. That's just what happened. Also, this isn't really a big thing, but I'm starting to question a little bit the decision making and where guys are playing on the field sometimes. There was a 4th and 2. KHALIL Mack was dropped back into coverage. And then obviously that 4th and 1 after that amazing scramble on 3rd and 7 with 3 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. You go for it on 4th and 1, you can't get it. There's just some questionable decision making at times by this coaching staff. And it's not a big deal right now, but I just want to let you guys know I see it. And I know that you guys see it too. So I'm just letting you know you're not crazy. And I'm with you there. So that was the good and the bad from the Raiders game. This team is 2-2. We're right back in it after that 0-2 start. If you want to see my reaction to, the Titans game, this was my last video. And this kind of explains where I was for these past 2 weeks. Thanks for watching. Videos back to normal immediately.